everyone. I've never done a Facebook Live video before, so hopefully this isn't awkward or weird. I don't really have a script. I just kind of wanted to talk. October is Pregnancy, Infant, and Child Loss Awareness Month, which is something that I am pretty passionate about. As a lot of people know, Sean and I experienced that 3.5 years ago. And so I, every year try to share a picture or something to just kind of talk about it, bring awareness to it. But I thought, this year I'll do a video. Why not? So back in 2011, Sean and I started to try to grow our family. We, tried and wasn't going well, and it was months and months and months. And we finally had to go see doctors and get tested and do all that stuff. And, I figured it was me just because you tend to know your own body, and it was me. So we had to get pregnant using medicine. The first month that we did the medicine, got pregnant first month, and I was very surprised but very happy. The first pregnancy ended pretty early. I think it was less than a week, and the pregnancy just wasn't viable. The doctor that we were seeing at the time had said that because it was so early, that the next month we could just try again with the medicine and see what happens. So that's what we did. And we got pregnant again. Or I got pregnant again. I don't like when people say we are pregnant, because come on now. Got pregnant again. And of course I was very nervous because of the first time. It just didn't work. And so we were very excited. I had to take some extra medicine, progesterone supplements, because my levels were low. But other than that, everything was going well. At her 12-week scan, everything looked good. Baby was good, sized correctly. The 12-week scan, they kind of do some measuring behind the neck to kind of not rule out Down syndrome and things like that, but to just see if there's a higher risk. And all those tests came back normal. Baby looked good, and I was happy. And then it was about 2 months after that, or I guess just a month after that, I just wasn't feeling, just felt like something was wrong. I just one day started having really bad feelings, like something was wrong. I wasn't bleeding, I wasn't in pain, I wasn't experiencing any symptoms that, would kind of indicate anything. So I went to the doctor, and I went there alone. I just went, Sean offered to go, but I was like, oh no, it's fine. Like, I'm probably just being paranoid from the first pregnancy. We had planned to have lunch after. So I went to the doctor, and I was like, I just need some reassurance. Can you just let me listen to the heartbeat? And they obliged. But when I got there, of course, it was not, it's not how it worked out. They could not find the heartbeat. So the doctor wheeled in this very archaic ultrasound machine. It was very old, and it worked. She found the baby. She was pushing and pushing and pushing on my stomach, trying to get the baby to move, and the baby wasn't moving. And so she said, I don't know, but I just want to send you to the hospital and make sure everything's okay. But at that point, I knew that something wasn't right. Just intuition that had been there and lingering. So Sean and I went to the hospital and waited what seemed like forever. The wait was pretty long, but we had the ultrasound, and as soon as the tech started measuring the baby, I knew the baby was gone. I was around 18 weeks pregnant at that time, and the baby was measuring, I think, like 15 weeks, and baby wasn't moving, and I was just crying the whole time, crying, and then she confirmed that there was no heartbeat, and I broke down, and Sean broke down, and after that it was kind of a blur, even though I do remember the day very vividly, like it just happened. So the doctor kind of gave the options. He gave 3 options. He said the first option is you can just kind of let your body do what it's going to do. And to me, that was not an option. Second option was that they could induce labor. And again, that was, I was at that point had lost all control of the situation, and I felt like going into labor, if I could choose to not give birth to a baby that wasn't breathing, I would rather have not done that. So I chose the third option, which was basically a medical abortion, to remove the fetus. And so that's what I did. And that was not a pleasant experience, as one could imagine. It involved many steps. We were living in New Jersey at the time, and so we had to drive to Philadelphia to meet this doctor that was, that had done these procedures, that was trained, that knew what he was doing. And so we had to go to Philadelphia, which was about an hour away. And we met with the doctor, and it was very, very hard because, this doctor also saw women that were pregnant with healthy children. So, sitting in that waiting room with all these pregnant women was very, very hard. And I was very angry with all those women, very irrational. I know, but that's just the state of mind I was in. Met with the doctor. They put, I had to have, I can't remember, Lumeria or something, these sticks basically placed in my cervix that would kind of open it up at that point. And then I had to return, so that was, as you can imagine, awful and not very pleasant, and it hurt. And of course, once I had those placed, the cramps started, and I couldn't take any ibuprofen or anything because I had surgery scheduled the next day. So the next day we had to go back to Philadelphia, and Sean and I were super broke at the time, so could not afford to stay in Philadelphia that night. So we had to go back home and then come back the next morning. And the surgery, of course, was running behind, several hours actually. And that was pretty awful. There was another couple there who was there for the same reason we were. And so we had talked a little bit about that, but they also had a child with them. The kid was maybe 18 months old. And so that was also very hard, to be around a child who I wanted so badly, and this child was running around. And anyway, so had the surgery. Went well. I was completely out for all of it, so I obviously didn't feel anything, which is what I wanted. That's what I wanted. And so had the surgery. Everything was fine. But I just can't explain to you what the feeling is of knowing that you're carrying a dead baby inside of you, basically. Because it was February 12th is when I found out the baby didn't have a heartbeat. And it wasn't until February 15th that I had the surgery. So it was 3 days. And it was probably the worst 3 days of my life. I just can't explain what that feeling is, or anyone who's been through it can know, but it's just indescribable. So yeah. And then, they took samples, and because as far as they could tell, there was, the pregnancy was fine. It was about a month later that the doctor called me and told me that the baby had Down syndrome. And the worst news to me, anyway, was that the baby was a girl, because we didn't know the gender yet at that point. And so I, broke down. the Down syndrome to me was not an issue. She was still very much wanted, would have been very much loved, and to this day, knowing what I know now, I do still want her. So, of course, I'm very thankful and grateful for my 2 beautiful, healthy, thriving boys. I love them more than I can even describe to you, but any mother or any parent can, I mean, you know what that love is. It's, you know. But anyway, so that's my story. It's, I know that talking about babies dying is, or, you know, losing a child is not something that anyone wants to talk about, but I think it's very necessary to talk about. At the time when I was going through everything, I felt very alone. Sean and I were in New Jersey. We had no family around for support. Didn't really know a lot of people. I was in grad school, but didn't really tell anyone what was going on. You know, I'm friends with a lot of people from grad school now, but I didn't really reach out to anyone. And so it was very hard to do that alone. And I had, you know, message boards and things that I was trying to find support on. We actually found a really good support group in New Jersey, which is something I think we're lacking here in Mid-Missouri. A support group for both of us, and I think it really helped me. I also did go to therapy for a while because I just wasn't sure how to grieve and to start to even process what I had been through. So anyway, that's why I think it's important to talk about. I share my story as often as I can. I don't just go up to strangers and say, hey, let me tell you about this thing I went through. But if I see an opportunity to reach out to someone or to share my story, I certainly do. I don't want anyone to ever have to feel alone or that they don't have anyone to go to if this happens to them, because 1 in 4 pregnancies does end in a loss. So it happens every day, very frequently. And I think the more that we talk about it, the less stigmatized it is, and, you know, we can talk about it. It's not a pleasant conversation to have, but it's very necessary, I think. So, like I said, I don't really have a script. I just thought this would be a good way to, because it is the month that it is, it's the awareness month, so we get to share. And so I'm always, please, if you ever go through this, please know you can always reach out to me. I have had several people do that, friends and other people, just because they know what I've been through. So I am glad that I have been able to be supportive to other people. If you know anyone who's going through it, I mean, there's nothing you can really say or do other than to just be supportive and be there and be present for that person. Nothing you can say or do will fix their pain or make it go away, but knowing that you have supportive people in your life can be very helpful and very powerful. And sometimes just let people be mad and let people be angry. I know it's uncomfortable. And you know, most importantly, I think after everything is done and the person is kind of gone through the grieving process, allow that person to talk about their baby. I know, again, that can be very uncomfortable, but I think it's also important because these babies deserve to be talked about. We had hopes and dreams for these babies that we did not get to experience with them. So just let us talk about it. And that's it. So anyway, that's my awareness video. And like I said, if you ever go through this, please always feel free to reach out to me, or if I can help anyone that you know, I'm always very willing to help anyone go through this.